and Ring are being sued over those security camera hackings. You know about the mom and the dad of an 8-year-old who was taunted by a hacker using Ring and speaking to their child, and they spoke to us last month about it. Before we talk about the lawsuit, let's watch this.
When I first heard his voice, I ran inside, and she was just petrified, and my husband was obviously shaken, and he could barely even get words out. She's still really just really scared. She said that she sometimes she still can't sleep in her bedroom.
No, sir. We'll never put cameras back inside of our house, period, even on closed circuit.
Yeah, who could blame them after that? The likelihood of being hacked is leading some to just ditch those cameras completely. And we have a former internet crimes prosecutor in Vanu Varghese joining us on the trouble that these companies could be facing. Vanu, good to see you. What about the liability of the companies involved here? I'm sure they would argue, well, there's not much we could have done about it, but is there?
That is what they're going to argue. I've actually read the complaint. It's about 30 pages, and it details incidents across the country, most of which, sound annoying, but really the question of damages is one that is going to be hard for these plaintiffs to overcome. So in this case, they're going to say, look, when you're dealing with the Internet of Things, right, when you're dealing with home security systems and things like that, there are no rules. So there are no rules, there are rules for the handling of data, but what people can do, what the government can do, and even those areas are evolving and moving. But here, there's no rules here. And so there has to be some responsibility put on the consumer. The man you just showed the clip of actually said he's not going to put a home security camera in there. So when you look at all this stuff, when you ultimately say, oh, this will protect you and give you that security, when something sounds too good to be true, it usually is.
So the companies are being accused of not having, as far as I read the lawsuit, of not having what is described as robust security against the hackers. They're accused of being negligent. But you're saying that there's no requirement. There's no requirement for them to have that robust security to protect against hacking?
Yeah, look, this is sort of the buyer assumes the risks, right? Ultimately, what's going to make these companies more profitable is dealing with this stuff. All this bad publicity for Ring is going to hurt it. It's just so ultimately they'll get better. One of the things they put in the lawsuit is they talk about Google and how it's the gold standard for security, and it has two-factor authentication. They actually, I don't know if they meant to do this or not in the papers, actually said, well, Google, will ping you if you don't and remind you. But guess what that means? It's not required. And at some point during these papers, they actually mentioned that Ring does have two-factor authentication,
right,
but it's up to the individual buyer whether to use it or not.
Yeah, because this is a decision now on the plaintiff's part to file this lawsuit. We do segments all the time about whether it's a good idea to have these cameras and what the risks are. That's different from a legal question or legal obligation for the companies. By the way, we've reached out to Amazon, haven't got back to us yet in terms of their side of that, but I think you've articulated what we expect their side of it to be. Will something change in the future? I wonder. It would have to come on the legislative side, where people, where legislators would put in rules that don't currently exist, right?
That's right. That's the only way that this can happen. And even those kind of rules, you got to ask yourself, is this what the government wants to do, the legislature wants to step in?
Right.
And it may be a situation just like you have with Facebook. You have all these hearings and things going on, but ultimately Congress hasn't moved yet. And even if they do, they're things they put against, for example, Facebook could be challenged on First Amendment grounds.
All right, Vanu, thanks for explaining that all to us. We appreciate it, and have a happy New Year.
My pleasure.
Vanu Varghese now.